Hello and welcome to this Astranti Connect YouTube video taking a look at sympathy and empathy, two very important words when you are looking to undertake your counselling journey, and two words that you'll become very familiar with if you do undertake your counselling journey. Two words that you'll learn a lot about on your level 2 courses for CPCAB, and in fact you'll continue to build upon that knowledge throughout the various different levels of the CPCAB syllabus. So if you are interested in learning more about these sorts of topics, then please like and subscribe, and also check out our website www.astranticonnect.com. So what are we going to look at in this video? Well, as the title suggests, we're going to look at the difference between sympathy and empathy. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, is there a difference? You're saying there's a difference, but I'm not sure what that difference is. I use the two words interchangeably, and a lot of people do use the words interchangeably. But there is, in fact, a difference. And it's a slight difference, but it is a crucially important difference. Of course, this video is going to be a brief introduction to the two terms and the differences between them. You would learn more about this on a counselling course, but hopefully this video should give you enough of an insight into the difference to understand the difference at least. So how we're going to do this is to look at what sympathy is and what empathy is, and we'll draw conclusions, we'll draw parallels, we'll draw distinctions as we go through. But before we do, I'd like you to stop, pause the video, and just think for a moment what you think the difference is, and whether you think there is a difference. And then come back and we'll go through it together. Okay, welcome back. I hope you have taken the time to think about the difference and what each of these two terms means to you and whether there is a difference. We're now going to look at sympathy and what sympathy is. Well, to put it in very basic layman's terms, sympathy is to recognize, to acknowledge the feelings of others. To recognize that this person over here has had a feeling and you are responding to that feeling. And with sympathy, it's often about grief or pity or something along those lines. It's saying things like, I'm sorry for your loss. I feel bad for you. It's feeling for someone. You, as a person, as an individual, are feeling for another person. I'm sorry that that happened to that person. It must suck that that happened to you. I feel bad for you. But it's very much coming from you when you sympathize. You're thinking about someone else, but you're feeling from your own perspective, not from their perspective. You're not sharing the experience. You're feeling bad for them, but you're not understanding why they feel the way that they do. You're not helping them to come to terms with it. You're not being there for them. You're just feeling for them. You're not sharing their experience. And that's why empathy, particularly in counselling circles, is often seen as perhaps better than sympathy, because empathy is more about sharing that experience. And we'll come on to more of that slightly later in this video. Also, why sympathy is perhaps not as effective and doesn't go as deep as empathy with regards to working with someone, with feeling with someone, is that you're looking at someone's experience, but you're looking at it through your eyes. You're not thinking about how they feel in their situation. You're looking at it from your own perspective, with your own perception. You're taking yourself and putting yourself in their position and thinking about how you would feel in that situation, what you would do in that situation. And that's a very important distinction, because how you would deal with something, how you would feel about something, is very different to how someone else might. Because your position is based on your own biases, your own opinions, the own traits of your personality. Perhaps you're a very strong character and wouldn't feel upset by this situation. So if you're not thinking about how they would feel, but just how you would feel, you might end up thinking to yourself, well, I don't understand why they're getting so upset. I wouldn't be upset about that. I would just get on with it. So it's very important to recognize that distinction between sympathy and empathy, because they are not the same. And also, sympathy often comes from more of a high ground perspective. There's a bit of a power imbalance when you're feeling for someone, you're pitying someone, you are putting yourself at a higher level when you do that. And as such, it may not be very helpful in your counselling experience to sympathize with people rather than empathize with them, because you're coming at it from your own perspective and you're coming at it from a position of a higher power, of a higher authority. You're looking down on someone, you're pitying someone's position. You may not mean it in that way, but that's how it may come across. So that's a very brief overview of sympathy. Now let's take a look at empathy and the difference between empathy and sympathy. Well, empathy is not just about acknowledging that people have had feelings and recognizing that they've got feelings and this is their feeling, but it's understanding their feeling, understanding where they are coming from. You're feeling with someone rather than for someone. Rather than being sorry for their loss, you're feeling that loss with them. You want to engage with them, to share that experience with them, rather than just saying, oh, I'm sorry that that happened to you. In short, sharing the experience. And a good way of putting that into a phrase is not how I feel in their situation. How would I feel in that situation? That's what people think empathy is. Putting themselves in someone else's shoes. That's a common phrase that people think is about empathy. How would I feel if that happened to me? That's not empathy. That is actually sympathy. Again, you're putting yourself into their situation and then looking at their situation from your own perspective, how you would deal with it, how you would feel in their position. But it's not about how I would feel in their situation, but how do they feel in their situation. Don't think about your traits, your perceptions, your judgment, your background, etc., and apply it to their position. Think about where they are coming from. So, for example, let's say someone's pet had died, their cat had died, and you're not particularly keen on cats, so you don't think you would feel that sad. Well, I'm not that upset about cats dying, so I wouldn't feel that bad. Or it could be that you have had a cat that passed and you dealt with it fine. But then you also had all these other things around in your life. You had a very successful career, you had a family, you had an active social life. All these different safety nets that allowed you to deal with your grief. But perhaps they don't have that. They don't have their career. They don't have a family. They don't have a social circle. All they had in their lives was their cat. Their cat was the most important thing in their life. So it's not about how you would feel in their situation. It's how they feel in their situation. So again, that's that important distinction. It's also far less judgmental. And I spoke about this idea of a power balance and a power imbalance when you are sympathizing, you're looking down, you're pitying someone, you're taking pity on them. Whereas with empathy, it's much more about putting yourself on the same level and trying to truly understand how they feel. Now, admittedly, that is quite a brief introduction. There's a lot more to be said about both of these, but that will be for another video and potentially for a course as well, rather than just a short YouTube video. But I'm hoping that has given you a bit of an understanding of the distinction between the two, because they are terms that people often get confused. What I would also note is that too much empathy can also be a problem as well. If you think of yourself as someone who is very empathetic and someone that would like to be more empathetic, there is a limit to how much is good for your own well-being. If you feel the pain of others too much, if you're the kind of person that turns on the news and sees all these horrible stories and you take on board that emotion from all those people that you're seeing on the news, if you're constantly living your life like that, it can be very detrimental to your own health. So there is a warning sign there with empathy. Whilst it perhaps is the better position, the better standpoint for counselling than being someone who is sympathetic, there is a limit, and it must be something that you yourself keep an eye on. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it and found it useful. If you have any other comments on what you think are key difference and key distinctions between sympathy and empathy, then by all means drop them in the comments. And also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website www.stranziconnect.com for more information about the various different courses that you can attend to qualify as a BACP accredited counsellor with CPCAB, and also learn more about things like sympathy and empathy, among many other things. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again for the next video.